Okay, we are recording. Um, so, for those of you that are just joining the recording, we've checked in and we have a number of men on the call from the outreach team. And I've asked them and Boysen to be here. And we're going to spend most of this call on that subject because in my judgment, we would benefit from, I don't know if we would benefit from greater coordination between the outreach team and the enrollment coordinators, and the enrollment coordinators will benefit from hearing about the conversion process. So, Boysen, I am going to give you the con, as we say on Star Trek, and turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Yay, nerds and geeks unite. I've got the com. Boysen, Brother Raven. So the outreach team for MKP USA, and we've actually only got one of our volunteers in the house right now, who is Terry Jones in my upper left, as well as myself. So for the last couple of years, the Mankind Project has had a volunteer team of guys who respond to incoming requests from our MKP USA webpage or from the mankindproject.org webpage. Any emails submitted to outreach at MKP or info at MKP, or any submission from a form on our two major sites with all the information that we can collect there, as much as men or women choose to give us. We have a volunteer team that fields, triages, and refers all of that information that comes through MKP out to local area enrollment coordinators, area stewards, iGroup reps. Right now we average anywhere between 60 and 80 inquiries a week coming through that, and then discount that by probably 10 of those are just pure spam. So, around 50 inquiries a week that are coming through. Some of those folks ping us once, we never hear from them again. Some of them we refer out to iGroups and refer to open circles. Some of them we refer to NWTA coordinators or to John Grote, who is going to talk about his role on the outreach team. And then there's lots of miscellany that comes through the box also. A mom with a 16-year-old kid looking for boys to men, people looking for women within, like all kinds of, was that me buzzing or somebody else? Looking for those things. And then all of that information is going into a thing called Infusionsoft, which is a marketing platform. Since I launched Infusionsoft 2.5 years ago and we started doing this outreach inquiry stuff, we have over 4,000 contacts that have come through the outreach box in Infusionsoft. To those folks, we are now regularly sending out invitations to our monthly live Q&A calls for the New Warrior Training Adventure. I advertise those on Facebook and also to that group. And those folks get onto the check-in newsletter list. So the check-in, our newsletter now has over 8,000 subscribers. And we handle communication through there. So that is a generalized view of the outreach team. The guys who are on that team, Jose Antonio Mandela, the chairman of MKP USA, he's not doing a lot there, but he's been a huge contributor. Terry Jones, Ken Schultz from Northern California, Philip Pointer from Nashville, who's been an amazing contributor to that team for a long period of time, and myself. So that's kind of a very high level thing about what outreach looks like. I will share one little thing with you, which is, let's go to this desktop. And if you go to mankindproject.org, so what I'm talking about is anything, any form that you see on our website. So this form that's here right on the front page, or the larger form, which collects a lot more data on the back page of the site, including some demographic data. And the reason I brought us over here to show you is because now I'm going to talk about John Grote and introduce him, and then I'm going to get the card. So John Grote and Michael Russer are here on this call to talk about the MKP conversion process, being an outreach specialist for the NWTA. Anytime someone fills out a form on this site, or calls us on our 800 number and leaves a phone number, or sends us an email and leaves a phone number asking about the New Warrior training adventure, or they click yes on this little radio button saying that they are interested in information about the training, and I click submit on this, it goes into our Infusionsoft system, and then it gets caught by a man named John Grote, who has been now working with the outreach team for how long, John?
Since February.
Since February. So John's been fielding outreach stuff since February, and now I can't figure out how to get off my screen share. What has happened? The normal thing that pops up to let me stop screen share is not popping up right now. And I don't know why. I apologize. John, if you want to start talking about what you do. So you just got a request from a man with a phone number. Take it from there, and you and Michael can discuss the process.
So sure. So I get a request from a man with a phone number, and when I have time, I will give him a call and sort of track him to see where he is, see what his questions are. There's a couple ways in Infusionsoft. If he's not there, then I will leave a message, and we have a leave a message. And if also I don't get a hold of him, I will schedule a call. We'll call requests. So Mondays and Wednesday nights between Eastern Time 6 and about 9 o'clock, I get guys to schedule calls with me. So if I'm not on Infusionsoft, there actually is a way for men to schedule a call with me. So that's sort of the beginning process for me, is to start to have that conversation, or at least reach out to them. Is that about right? But no. So with that, I'm getting a lot of calls that, guys just need to be heard. Guys really just want to be heard. I mean, I got 2 compliments from guys last night. It's like, you're a good listener. And that's the big point, is listening to them. I'm spending a lot of time sort of driving guys to iGroups as well as the NWTA. I'm finding a large majority sort of want to get a taste of what's out there. And, trying to get, I think Boysen and I at some point were trying to work out getting a list of at least when open circles were, or men, the circle of men, to get an idea of what goes on in the area. So when people call me up and they're from, the Midwest, or they're from the Northwest, I'm having a better idea of what I can send them to get the juices flowing.
Ed, okay. You weren't coming through, Ed.
Sorry, I had my microphone muted. I apologize. John, talk about the nature of the calls you get. You say men just want to be heard. What's having them call in?
What's having them call in? Sort of the underlying theme is, some guys are looking to connect with other men that they don't have that in their life. That's a big one. Also, they're going through some trying times. They may be, wondering about divorce, wondering if they should stay in a relationship, things of that nature. Older men at an age where they're making that transition to maybe, retirement, or looking for something to do, looking to give back. So that's that end of the spectrum. And, I get a bunch of parents calling me looking for their 18 and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds of some direction. And those are interesting because for me, it's that's great. And that's what we want to hear. But I really need to hear from your son.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see where he is. We can't force anybody to take the training.
Mm-hmm.
So, I honor those parents and people that see their kids struggling and trying to get them to the place where, you need to include them. This isn't, you can't force them to take this training.
Right. So that's a great start. Now if you and Michael would address conversion, how do you take it from a conversation about all those things you just said to a conversation about the training?
I sort of start talking about how I got here. Honestly, how I got here to sort of flip it over to go, this is what the weekend's done for me, and this is the staffings I've done, and this the change I've seen in men on those weekends. And that's, for me, is the power, because then they start to relate to that. I start talking, some of my wounds, and some of the guys are really interested in taking a look at that and going a little bit more in depth of oh, okay. Yeah, I get a lot of calls of, well, why can't you tell me what's on the weekend? I know we've all gotten those.
Right.
And that's a big one. So it's sort of just flushing it out to it's an experiential weekend, but it's a weekend where you start to go deeper, where, you get to take a look at yourself. You get to take that relationship with yourself. So the rest of the world has that relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
John,
Go ahead, Michael.
John, if I could interject. Okay, so one thing that I think might be lost in context here, gentlemen, is that you don't get to that point of sharing until you've established some semblance of rapport and trust.
Right.
And that comes from the active listening, and it comes from you go into these calls in a state of presence, and we define presence as a deep state of awareness without judgment, expectations, or distractions. And in this case, expectations are a big one, because we live in a performance metric society, and in fact, we are talking about performance numbers here. So many sign-ups, so many people going through the NWTA on average, and I get that. What's important to realize on these calls is, in the beginning, you want to get them talking. You want to ask them open-ended questions that cause them to start really going deep into, things they perhaps haven't thought about before. But in that space of presence, they feel safe in which to discuss it. And in the discussion, they end up coming to their own conclusions. And this is crucial. They come to their own conclusions that this is probably something of great value for them. Because keep in mind, when you're talking to somebody you've never met before, even after you've established some rapport, if they even get a hint that you have an agenda behind this, they will start to shut down. So it's you have to go in there with that state of presence of no agenda, other than to listen and allow them, hopefully through some well-crafted questions, depending on what the context is, to have them come to their own conclusions that this is something that is powerful. And then throughout that, you can, once you sense that rapport has been established and you sense a bit of trust, you can start sharing your own experience, because shared experiences are very powerful, and harkens back to the parable form of transferring information. They'll see your vulnerability. They'll see your authenticity. They'll see your open heart. And that's powerful, because it's something they don't get to see very often in their day-to-day lives. So you model this for them. And in the process of approaching this call in a state of presence.
Michael, thank you. That was a damn gold mine. I'm glad we're recording this.
Can I jump in real quick?
Please do.
This is Randall in Northern California. So I just want to echo almost everything you guys have said is how I do business here. I listen. I try to be compassionate. But I think for me, the number one thing I sit with every single phone call is, if I remember that man needs to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times the conversation has ended with, I feel safe, in not necessarily in those words, but in their feeling and their thoughts. They
Right.
just are looking to feel safe. And if we can give them that safety to just share, man, it's amazing how quickly men come around if they know they feel safe. And one of the ways they feel safe is that agenda thing. I like to tell guys that I talk to that call me and say, well, how do I talk to my friend? I say, you talk to your friend like this. This is how it was for me, and then you drop the ball and walk away. You cannot have an agenda. They can smell it in a heartbeat.
That's right. They can smell it.
Absolutely know when you're giving them a line of crap.
Yep.
And they will sniff it out and they will walk away, and you will never hear from them again. And they will walk away from the whole organization because they had a bad experience with one guy.
Yeah.
So to me, it's no agenda, no judgment, just listening and knowing in the background, this man is calling me because he feels unsafe in his world, and I can give him a little bit of safety just by listening right now.
Beautiful. Beautiful,
Yeah.
Randall.
Yeah.
And you're a good listener is code for I feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And if I could just mention one more thing, Ed, going in there with no agenda is a tall order, because by definition, you're going in there with the idea that hopefully some of the men, as many as possible, will go through the training. But you have to let go of that attachment, right?
Yeah,
so you go in there right up front, let go of that attachment,
right.
Go in there to serve. You're going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, I've often said that enrollment is like feeding a deer. You know, you hold the food out in your hand, and the more you want that deer to come to you, the more you're going to drive it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you can just stand there and hold space,
Yes,
with no expectation,
right.
the deer will either eat or he won't.
Right.
Well, and part of it is I sort of get blunt with some of these guys. What are you calling me for?
Yeah.
Let's get past the bullshit, and in a good way, but, what are you reaching out to the MKP for? And that really opens, is an open-ended question that gives them, like, there's the deep breath and the pause, and there's and then it all starts coming out.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
They didn't call us by accident.
Right.
No, the way I start a call, when I call somebody back, they've called me and I get a message or someone's forwarded it from you guys, is the very first thing I say is, this is my name. This is what I do. What can I do for you?
Yes.
And I let them tell me what they can do. I don't give them a spiel. I just say, what can I do for you?
Yes.
And they always tell me what they want.
Randall, talk about the letter you send out. When I kick a man, I get an inquiry and I kick it to you. You send out this beautiful letter. That's your first contact with the man. Talk a little about the kind of ground of being of that letter.
It's real simple. It's funny. I didn't ever thought of it as beautiful, but thank you. That feels nice today. It's very simple. It's just, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's
I honor you for your interest in the
Right.
New Warrior Training Adventure.
And then I say something like, the training isn't guaranteed to change your life, but there's not a lot out there that comes close to this. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I offer them the dates that we have, and I say, very simply, let me know what else I can help you with. I can answer just about any question you have. It's real short, it's real simple, and guys respond to that.
Yeah, well, it starts with blessing the man.
Right.
Yeah, I bless them first. I honor you for your interest, and you're getting this email because you showed an interest or something like that.
Yeah. It's really good. And I was struck by it the first time I saw it, that, if I'm a man who's looking for something and I get a response that starts with not thank you for your interest, but I honor you, I bless you for your interest. That right away I know there's something different going on here. It's great. Let's see, Michael, there was so much in what you said, and now I'm
Well, it's all in the it's all in that sales process, written sales process, the conversion process.
process, yeah.
Yeah, conversion process.
And where will people find that?
Well, Boyson's going to get it to everybody. It's on a Google Doc right now, and
Great.
this is the document MKP hired me to create back in January, and then John and I trained on it before he went live. and it proved to be very, very helpful. The other thing I want to point out here is that at some point, it would not hurt for you guys to get together and do role play. Role play, this is what John and I did intensively. For what, how long did we do that, John? About a week or two? And then we did it, a couple of weeks. Yeah, and because this is a skill, it's easy to get off track on a call if you're not really aware of what's going on. And so doing role play is something that I highly encourage. If you can master the role play, you will absolutely master the calls in the real situation. Role play is far more difficult.
Beautiful, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the men on the call have questions or comments or anything they'd like to know from the men on the outreach team and the conversion team?
Ed,
I'll step in. This is.
I couldn't hear who the first person was. So whoever started first, go ahead, and then the person who said, I'll step in.
I think it was me, this is Terry.
Go ahead, Terry.
I was surprised by when I started volunteering, and that's fairly recent ago, was how many of the men we hear from who have no comment, no question, nothing is indicated in terms of what their interests are. And so my behavior is typically to get them to a local man. And of course, our primary target is the enrollment coordinator. So I wanted them to know that we really, in some cases, and I would say half the cases, we really don't know what the goals of the man are. But it's an opportunity to talk to him.
It's great. Who else started to talk?
This is Randall in St. Louis, and as much as I appreciate the energy for the NWTA, from my standpoint, the invitation is to come to an open circle. I see it as a much easier ask to say to a man, what are you doing Monday or Thursday night? We have a lodge here in the St. Louis area where you're welcome to come and sit with a circle of men and learn more about us.
That's great. Tell me about so when you say a lodge, you don't mean a P&R lodge, right?
You are correct. That's not what I mean. We rent space in a light industrial part of St. Louis where we can scream and make noise and host 3 or 4 groups all in the same evening. And that's where we have our open circles.
Got it. And do you use the open circle handbook? Is that the format you use?
Yes, but would be a short answer to that.
And what's the long answer?
That we've got some men with 12 or 15 years of experience with MKP that on any typical evening on either Monday or Thursday night, we've got at least 4 or 5 warriors with a lot of experience and big hearts who are opening that door and welcoming men in and listening very well.
Very good. And for those of you listening to the recording, I'll remind you that the last 2 calls, the June and July calls, we didn't have a call in August, Glenn Barker and Boysen and others did just a great job of talking about open circles. And I recommend you go to those recordings if you haven't watched them, and if you have, watch them again. Boysen, glad you're back from the car. Would you, let's see, what did I want to ask you about? Oh, your Q&A calls. Talk a little more about that. I'm not sure they're as well known as they deserve to be.
They are not as well known as they deserve to be. And we kind of started small and kept them a little bit quiet, and now they're getting much bigger because the last couple of months have just been really powerful. So we started as you know, it's a live Q&A call for men interested in learning more, people interested in learning more about the new Warrior Training Adventure. And that was our first 2 months. First month was great. We had a bunch of people on the call. Second month was small, and it was because it was instantly not novel anymore.
Right.
So now we've taken that, and we're doing monthly topic-based calls. And the first one that we did was on the crucial role of initiation. And the second one that we just did was on rediscovering the wild man. And the next one that we're going to do is going to be on the king archetype and discovering the inner sovereign.
Give him the name on that one. Come on. Don't.
Oh, Michael, really?
Give him the name on that one. Come on.
Go ahead, Michael. You want to share, so please share.
No, I can't remember what it was. I just remember the blow up part. That's all. No, I know how to get what you want without blowing everything up or something like that. Yeah.
That's great.
And those have been, so I advertise those on Facebook through our main Facebook page and to the list of prospect contacts in the Infusionsoft database. Those calls have been really great. They're really fast. They're 30-minute calls. We pack a lot into them. We've had good discussion. We've had great questions from people. We're bringing in other people, and I want to expand that, who else we bring in. I would like those calls to be a resource to all of the enrollment coordinators in all of the areas. And I also think it's a great idea, and I'm doing one tonight for New England. I think it's a great idea for local areas to start doing those locally based. Like, hey, if you want to get together, you've heard from somebody about this training that's coming up in a few weeks. If you have some questions, if you want to hear from some other men who have done it, here's an opportunity to do that. And then we'll keep doing these topic-based calls that have been really juicy at MKP USA.
No, we're going to start recording them, right? I mean,
yeah.
I sort of messed up.
You're going to start recording these calls also.
Yeah.
Boysen, would you announce when you announce those? Would you include the enrollment coordinators list V group, please?
Yes, I can do that. In fact, I could do that through Infusionsoft.
Also, Boysen, I have a question. What tool are you using for the Q&A?
We are using Free Conference Call. We're using freeconferencecall.com.
Oh, okay.
It allows both video as well as calling. It's one of the easiest tools to use.
Right. Yeah, I've used it before. It's a good piece. So you're only doing it through Facebook right now, and you don't have it on MKP USA or on the international site either?
I have not published them to website. I think it was kind of a slow rollout. I wanted to see, is this going to work? How is it going to work? How's it going to feel? I think we're there now.
Okay. But this sounds like something I know there are guys I've talked to that would enjoy that kind of format. So I'm anxious to get the links for that and start to know the schedule and that kind of thing.
Well, the other possibility, Randall, would be to do it locally here in NorCal. We've got guys who could get on.
I'd like to learn it by listening for a while and kind of see how that fits for my world because it's so busy, you know. Maybe there's other men that would want to help with that here too. So
great.
Second Monday of the month, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments for these men? This has been extremely valuable.
Well, Boysen, while you were out, Ed asked how can they get a copy of the, they want to know how to get a copy of the conversion process.
Your exclusive offer for being on this call today. I will post a link to it here in the chat, and then I'll post a link to it on the enrollment list, so you guys can all get that.
Great. Anything else for anybody? Okay, well, this has been extremely useful, and I don't like extending calls beyond their useful life, so unless anybody's got anything else to bring up, what I will tell you is, go ahead.
Ed, this is Randall in St. Louis. One quick thought, an idea that came up on a call a while back that I think would be great for transitioning between, if groups don't have regular open circles. We haven't done it yet, but I heard that idea of a Saturday morning breakfast at like a Cracker Barrel or other restaurant. Whoever wants to come, meet some people, answer some questions. I think that type of face-to-face interaction, making it easy to answer questions, is also a great form of outreach.
Yeah, I agree. And, if you've got the budget for it, or if you can do it so people pay their own way, food is always a good attractor. Michael, were you agreeing, or did you want to say something?
No. I'm agreeing.
Great. Just to tell you all real quick, as I look at my magic enrollment tracking sheet, we have some strong NWTAs coming up. Colorado right now, which is not this weekend, but the following weekend. Colorado has 29. Metro New York has 25, but I heard this morning it was up to 28. Philadelphia was at 15 last time I checked. Randall Schilling, you and I should talk. Let's see if we can get. I show you at 8 right now. What do you have?
8 is the correct number. We've got another 5 or 6 in the pipeline. Let me put in a plug. One of our issues is we're only at about 24, 25 on staff men. Walt Stewart is our leader, and both Jimmy Howard and Nick Schock are our co-leaders. Frankly, just about every man's staffing is from the St. Louis community. We'd love to have some men from other communities come in and help with this weekend.
It's great. Put
And
that
yes,
out to
I'd like
the
to
list.
talk separately.
Yeah, give me a call. We'll see what we can do about getting that number up into double digits. Let's see who I'm looking at. Who else is on this call that might have something coming up? Kentucky. I don't know because of your merger of areas. Your October training no longer shows on my sheets. Who's from Kentucky here? Somebody said they were from Louisville. And you're on mute.
The October weekend is, I don't know, in fact, an Indiana weekend.
Got it. Do you know how many men are in it?
Last time I saw a number, it was something like a dozen.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
And so there we are. If you need anything, and of course, very often the men who show up on this call are not the ones who need support, but if you're on the recording, I'm going to remind you that's what I'm here for. That's what Boysen's here for. You know, we will help you any way we can. Let's see if we can finish the year strong. John Grote, talk to me offline about that question you texted to me. Give me a call. So our next call will be the 3rd, or is it the last? It's October 25th, I believe. And I will let you know what that call is going to be about. For those of you who are on the recording, thank you for listening, and call for help, support if you need it. I'm going to turn the recording off so we can check out and y'all don't have to listen to it. Not that you would anyhow, but okay.